Hitchcock didn't want her for Vertigo. He wanted Grace Kelly. He was cruel to her on set. She gave one of cinema's greatest performances anyway. Then she left Hollywood forever. Marilyn Pauline Novak was born February 13, 1933, in Chicago, to a working-class Czech-American family. She was beautiful, but not Hollywood beautiful, at least not by studio standards. Columbia Pictures discovered her in the early 1950s. Studio head Harry Cohn saw potential. But first, he'd remake her completely. They changed her name to Kim Novak. They dyed her hair. They made her lose weight. They controlled her image, her publicity, every aspect of her public persona. Kim was being groomed as Rita Hayworth's replacement. Hayworth had left Hollywood to marry Prince Ali Khan. Columbia needed a new star. Kim Novak would be manufactured to fill that void. Kim resisted. She fought to keep some of herself. Her natural eyebrows. She didn't want to be completely remade. But Columbia had power, and Kim needed work. In 1955, Picnic made her a star. She was 22. Opposite William Holden, Kim played a beautiful small-town girl torn between security and passion. The film was a hit. More roles followed. The Man with the Golden Arm with Frank Sinatra, Pal Joey with Sinatra and Rita Hayworth. By 1957, Kim Novak was one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Then Alfred Hitchcock was preparing Vertigo, a psychological thriller about obsession, identity, and loss. Hitchcock wanted Vera Miles for the female lead. When Miles got pregnant, he reluctantly accepted Columbia's offer, Kim Novak. Hitchcock didn't want Kim. He was still mourning the loss of Grace Kelly, who had left Hollywood in 1956 to marry Prince Rainier of Monaco. Grace had been Hitchcock's ideal blonde, his muse, his obsession, and Hitchcock made sure she knew it. On the Vertigo set, Hitchcock was cold, sometimes cruel. He criticized Kim's wardrobe choices, her acting choices, her very presence. He wanted Grace Kelly. He got Kim Novak. Kim felt it. She knew Hitchcock resented her. She knew she was second choice. The entire production was colored by Hitchcock's disappointment. But Kim did something extraordinary. She gave one of cinema's greatest performances anyway. Playing Madeline Elster, and later Judy Barton, Kim created a as mysterious, haunted, ethereal. Judy is earthy, vulnerable, desperate for love. The dual role required Kim to play not just two different women, but to show Judy pretending to be Madeline, then Judy being forced back into being Madeline. It's layers upon layers of performance. And Kim, despite Hitchcock's coldness, despite feeling unwanted, delivered brilliantly. Vertigo opened in 1958 to mixed reviews and disappointing box office. It was considered a failure. Kim continued working. That same year, she starred in Bell, Book and Candle, a romantic comedy where she played a modern witch opposite James Stewart, her Vertigo co-star. The film showed her range, playful, charming, lighter than her darker roles. Through the late 1950s and early 1960s, Kim remained a top star. She worked with Jack Lemmon, Kirk Douglas, Tony Curtis. She commanded high salaries. She was box office gold. But Kim was miserable. The studio system was controlling, dehumanizing. Harry Cohn treated her like property, a manufactured product to be controlled and exploited. She fought constantly for artistic freedom, for the right to make her own choices. And despite her success, Kim was typecast. She was the beautiful blonde, the sex symbol. Critics rarely took her seriously as an actress. Kim began withdrawing. By the mid-1960s, she was taking fewer roles, fighting more with studios, struggling with the pressure and lack of autonomy. In 1966, Harry Cohn died. Kim's contract with Columbia ended. She was free. She continued acting sporadically through the late 1960s and into the 1970s, but her heart wasn't in it. Hollywood had broken something in her. The constant control, the objectification, being treated as a commodity rather than an artist. Kim moved to Northern California, then Oregon. In 1976, she married Robert Malloy, a veterinarian. She settled into rural life, painting, making art, living privately. She essentially left Hollywood, not with a dramatic exit or public announcement, but by simply choosing not to return. Meanwhile, something strange happened to Vertigo. The film that had flopped in 1958 was being rediscovered. Film critics were reassessing it. By the 1980s and 1990s, Vertigo was being called a masterpiece, Hitchcock's most personal film, one of the greatest movies ever made. And Kim Novak's performance was being recognized for what it was: extraordinary. Film scholars analyzed her dual role. Acting students studied her technique. She'd created one of cinema's most complex female characters. In various polls throughout the 1990s and 2000s, Vertigo consistently ranked among the greatest films ever made. In Sound's prestigious poll, displacing Citizen Kane as the greatest film of all time. Kim Novak's performance was central to that greatness. But Kim wasn't there to enjoy the recognition. She'd left that world behind. She painted, she lived quietly with her husband, she occasionally gave interviews, but largely avoided public life. She'd survived Hollywood's toxic studio system. She'd endured being manufactured, controlled, objectified. She'd worked with a director who resented her presence and created a masterpiece anyway. And then she'd walked away. Kim Novak is still alive. She's 91 years old as of 2024. She lives privately, makes art, rarely appears publicly. When she does appear, at film festivals, special screenings of Vertigo, she's gracious, thoughtful, and honest about her Hollywood experience. She's talked about how difficult it was, how controlling the studio system was, how Hitchcock's coldness hurt her, how she felt treated as a product, not a person. But she's also talked about the work, about how proud she is of Vertigo, despite the difficult production, about how she fought to maintain some authenticity, even as the studio tried to remake her completely. Kim Novak's story is not a fairy tale. It's not about a star who gracefully retired at the peak of her fame. It's about a woman who was discovered, manufactured, controlled, and objectified by Hollywood, who fought for autonomy in a system designed to deny her any, who gave brilliant performances despite being treated poorly, and who finally escaped by walking away from fame entirely. She's a survivor of Harry Cohn's controlling studio system, of Hitchcock's cruelty and resentment, of being valued for beauty while her artistry was dismissed. And her legacy? It's Vertigo. It's one of the greatest performances in cinema history, in one of the greatest films ever made, delivered under circumstances that would have broken most people. Hitchcock didn't want her. He wanted